Hello. I am so excited today because I get the pleasure of interviewing Mr. PJ Papi DiNuzzo. How are you doing today, PJ?
Very good, Sandy. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. So I have to tell the guests that I met you this year at Podfest, and you were the first person I met as I entered the hotel. And I remember I was waiting to check in, and you had greeted me, and I turned around and I looked up because you're much taller than me. And you were telling me how you were doing one of the sessions, and you were sharing that you would be having a book launch of your new book that I have here. So before we get started, please tell the audience a little about you and a little about the work you do, and then we'll go into my specific questions.
Sure. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you, and I'm happy that I reached out while we were both standing in line waiting to check into the hotel.
Yes.
Um, my background is basically I've been in business my entire life. My both my grandparents came over from Italy and Poland, respectively, worked in the steel mills. We're in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, so they worked in the steel mills for 40 years or so. My dad bought a small restaurant. Then I started a financial business, a financial advisory firm in 1989 with $0, and have grown that from $0 to basically about $1 billion in assets under management. We've got clients in 33 states across the
Wow.
United States. And that between that and real estate, I've written a book. I didn't know anything about writing books, and now I've got six of them. I made pretty much 90 whatever percent of all the bestseller lists. I made number one on Barnes and Noble's National International, number five on Wall Street Journal, USA Today, number one on Amazon nonfiction. And after building the practice, and I talk about my biological family, my team family, my family of clients, my community family, my spiritual family, every single fellow brother and sister I have on this planet Earth. And after this, it's just come down to the point where I'm so grateful for all the success that I've had, and I want to give it back. And when I take a look at how it was accomplished, and it was accomplished simply through manifesting every single bit of it. We're all manifesting our lives every day. And this is all about me giving back. I call it give a fish, teach the fish,
Yeah.
and really giving back to my fellow brothers and sisters and teaching them how to manifest anything they can imagine. That's what you and I met over, was my Manifest Anything You Can Imagine book.
Yes.
And that's what I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about that today.
So I can tell you that I've been digging into this book and really learning about what you are doing with your mindset coaching. And so it makes sense that someone who has been able to literally manifest everything you have desired, that you would be so gracious to want to share this with others so they can actually achieve anything they desire.
Yes, I've devoted that. That's really my mission. I say the two most important days of our lives are the day we were born and
Mhm.
the day we figure out why we are here. Why were we born? What is our purpose? And this is literally my purpose, is to share this with my fellow brothers and sisters in need, to be able to teach them how to manifest anything they can imagine. Every single one of your listeners, Sandy, has this inside of them. They don't need to acquire anything else. They don't have to go and get a college degree or anything. They've got everything that they need inside of them to manifest the health, wealth, or happiness, whatever they choose, of their dreams.
Yeah, so let's talk a little more about manifesting because I've heard you say that we've already manifested things in our lives that we didn't know of. And you had me thinking about things that I have been able to accomplish and what was my mindset around those things. And it brought me back to my grandmother and things she would tell me manifesting.
Yes, manifesting, if you can think it in your mind,
Yeah.
you can hold it in your hand. That's so important. You become what you think,
Hmm.
you attract what you feel, and you create what you can imagine.
Okay.
So it's just so important, the vibe that you're putting out, what you think. If the listeners, Sandy, can only do one thing, if they just get one thing out of today,
Yeah.
if they can just going forward focus on what they want
Yeah.
instead of focusing on what they don't want, because human beings on average, we have up to 60,000 thoughts per day. And no matter how many thoughts we have, if it's 20,000, 30,000, whatever that number is, Sandy, 80% of those for the average human being are negative thoughts. So 4 out of 5 are negative. And if you can believe one thing that I say today,
Yeah.
it's that you, Sandy, and I, and all of your listeners, all of
Yeah.
our fellow brothers and sisters are a magnet. And what you think is what you're going to attract. And the more of what you think, a specific topic or goal,
Yes.
you're going to attract more of it. It's really that simple. And my goal is to teach people how to speak this language of the universe,
Yes.
because they're very focused in their physical 3D body, and the universe doesn't communicate that way. It communicates in a different manner.
Okay, so let's talk about this attraction that you tell us about and what this law of attraction. Can you explain a little bit more to the listeners about what that is?
Yeah, if I start at the very biggest picture, Sandy, and
Mhm.
if you and the audience members can you just imagine, if you could just imagine for a moment that we live in the most wonderful universe that you could ever imagine.
Ye-
And it was created for you and for all to live the greatest life that you could ever imagine. So
Yes.
we live in a perfect and infinite universe, run and operate off of perfect and infinite universal laws. So once you get to know what these laws are, so I would say, Sandy, we're in the United States here, and I would say, if you or someone was dressed to go play in a football game with shoulder pads and a helmet, and you thought that's the name of the game, yet you went and found out you were actually competing in a swimming event, and that's what you had on, you're not going to do too good. Or
No.
vice versa, if you had a swimming outfit on, just your little swimming trunks, and you went to play football, it's not going to go too good. So understanding how the and it's as fair can be. These are perfect and infinite universal laws. So the law of perpetual increase. Thank goodness for that. That everything you, Sandy, you're supposed to live. You are here, and our listeners are here to further express, expand, increase, and grow. That's why we're here, to help this universe, to literally co-create with universal intelligence to make this a better place. So
Yes.
once you get on the frequency of these universal laws, law of vibration, law of attraction, law of vibration is the primary law. The law of attraction is a secondary law, but that's one I talk about because that's one everybody loves. So that's one I focus on. But the law of a cause and effect, which is also referred to as the law of karma. And once you get on the frequency of these laws and what the attraction is, I'll tell you, Sandy, it's as simple as if you want a 4, if that's your goal, Sandy, you want a 4, whatever that's health, wealth, happiness, whatever that is.
Yeah.
If you want a number 4 for your answer, if you give the universe a 2 and another 2, if you give them a 2 plus a 2, you have to, absolutely, no ifs, ands, or no doubt about it, you will be delivered a 4. So once you figure out how to speak the language and what the rules are, and that I tell folks, really start off, and the most important question that you can ask yourself is this a friendly universe? And I spend as much time as possible coaching folks up and teaching them, yes, it's friendly beyond your wildest comprehension. So it is friendly. And then you need to know your space in the universe. So all of our listeners, I would suggest, and I just make suggestions, Sandy,
Yeah.
but I would suggest that we are all eternal spiritual beings in a physical body, not a physical body that just may or may not happen to have a soul. So when you realize you're an eternal spiritual being, and you realize your place in the universe, and that you have perfect spiritual DNA, a perfect spirit, and a perfect spiritual spark inside of you. So you've got all the tools you need in your toolbox to manifest anything you can imagine when you get in harmony and you come into contact with and are operating under these universal laws the way that the universe wants you to. The universe is dying for you to be successful, to have the health that you want, to have the wealth that you want, to have the happiness, the love life, the family, partnership, whatever it is, work, for you to have a great time at work every day. It wants you to enjoy that in your life.
And see, this is so powerful, PJ, because when I hear you and I'm thinking back, as I told you, to all these different situations, when I decided that in any of those situations, from my husband to my daughter that I prayed and believed so clearly that I would have, all of these things lined up for me. And so when I hear you talk about these things, it's like, wow, I have been manifesting, but then also I've been playing it small. I've been
Yeah.
playing it small.
Yeah. And it's really think big, go big, dream big. The universe, it's imagination is a preview of your coming attractions.
Mm.
Albert Einstein once said there was a woman who was asking him that she had a couple of children, and she, I think, caught him coming out of a lecture. And she said, Mr. Einstein, she considered him to be the smartest person on earth, so to speak. And she
Yes.
said, Mr. Einstein, I've got a couple of children. Can you please give me your best idea on how I can make my children smart?
Mm.
And Albert Einstein said, if you want your children to be smart, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be very smart, read them a lot of fairy tales. This is
Wow.
Albert Einstein. So it's your imagination, Sandy. We're not the average person. That's what I coach people up on. You're not thinking big enough. You're not dreaming big enough. You've got all these objections. You've got objections about yourself. You're thinking, I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not educated. I didn't go to the right school. I'm not the right weight I want to be, whatever else it is. So you've got objections about yourself. You've got objections about your surroundings. It's because of where I'm at. I'm not going to be able to do this. Or it could be objections even about the topic. So in this case, it could be about manifesting, oh, this doesn't work, or I'm not worthy, whatever else it may be. But as we work on these objections and that you are more than worthy, that your surroundings cannot stop you. I talk about, if you can imagine yourself, any of the listeners, that you're out in the largest, most beautiful wheat field on earth, and it's just a tall golden wheat, and you've got one of those just billowy breezes that are going through. It's just almost like universal intelligence's hand is just moving the top of this wheat back and forth. You're standing out in this field all by yourself, and you're standing there the way you came into this world. You don't have a stitch of clothing on. This wheat's up to your waist, up to your torso, and you're just standing there and just taking all this in and just listening to that breeze and the wheat just rustling all around you. You standing in the middle of that wheat field, you have every single tool and ability you need standing right there in that state to manifest anything you can imagine. So if you consider universal intelligence, universal conscious mind, source power. Now, when I say that, Sandy, just for listeners, I never define that for anyone. That is what everyone listening to your show believes that to be. I never define that. That's what all of your listeners believe that to be. And if you can just imagine, however loving, however kind, however gracious, however empathetic, however compassionate, it is even higher than that, beyond your wildest expectations, that you were set up for success, to get on the frequency, to co-create with universal intelligence and manifest your best life in whatever your desires are. As long as you follow some of the basic rules, it's more for all and less to none. We can't obviously manifest something negative on our fellow brothers or sisters, but it's more for all and less to none.
So with your PJ mindset coaching, you have a acronym called VEGA. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that and how that came about?
Yeah. So what this is, a lot of it is, Sandy, if you think about it, it's replacing, maybe if you've got those four out of five negative thoughts throughout the day,
Yeah.
it's replacing that with, I call it, instead of a routine, I call it a ritual. So when you start up in the morning, you want to now start to be proactively in control of your day. You want to start off, and I would recommend starting off in some form of gratitude without getting into the details, the big picture. Start off in some form of gratitude. You want to maybe do 5 minutes of affirmations and a positive declaration about yourself and state your goal. I recommend 333. Write out your affirmation 3 times after you wake up in the morning. Do it 3 times in the middle of the day and 3 times right before you go to sleep at night. Do an evening review and preview. Review that day. Did you behave as to your self-image? You've got a self-image now, Sandy, that's 10 or 100 times larger than it was before. And you're looking at the end of the day, was I in sync with my self-image, which is 10 or 100 times larger than it used to be? And you'll know that at the end of the day, then you preview your next day. One of the other things I do is I hand out PJ Mindset Coach coins. I carry this in my pocket, and it's got a VEGA on the back. Visualize with emotion. There you go, your goal, and take action. So visualization is really the key. Not that if you said, PJ, give me a formula, but if there was a formula, visualization is at the heart and soul, to visualize. So you think, Sandy, for your number one goal, I work with folks on your 10X goal, your faith goal.
Yes.
Your number one goal, you get that, you form that thought form you form that thought, and it creates a thought form. So Andrew Carnegie said that any thought either feared or revered. So either negative thought or positive thought. Any thought, either feared or revered, will begin to clothe itself immediately in the most available resources that are available. So the universe starts with one thought, Sandy, one thought.
Okay.
To put that in motion. The most powerful thing in the universe, we're talking about universal laws. I call it the law of energy.
Okay.
Everything around us is energy. You can look at a piece of steel or wood and you think it's solid. There's vibration there if you look under a microscope. So everything around us is in a vibration state. So you have the visualization with emotion. That's the key component.
Yeah.
If you do it with emotion, even Jay-Z said, I believe I can speak things into existence.
Yes.
There was another famous self-talker called Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard said, I've manifested all these positive things in my life just by my self-talk. So we call those auto-suggestions, suggestion from myself to myself. If you want to be exactly like Beyonce, you could be like Beyonce. I mean, whatever you want. There's nothing. The rule is, Sandy, for any of your listeners, there's 8 billion of us on planet Earth. If you see any other human being, any of our fellow brothers and sisters, and they have accomplished anything, then you know you can accomplish it because it's been accomplished by someone else. I go even a step further. Even if someone's never accomplished it, you can still accomplish it, Sandy. If it's more than anyone that you see, you still have the ability to manifest anything you can imagine. Anything you can imagine.
I love that. And you bring a message of hope.
Yes.
And so to that listener who is feeling as if they're at their wits' end, you just gave them a simple thought that they can hold on to. And that little thought can grow into such beautiful things by applying these principles. So I am encouraged because I know there is someone listening who needs exactly what you're giving. And so in talking about giving, you really play it forward. You really are passionate about helping people. And so tell me about the ways you're doing that with your mindset coaching and how you're reaching out to different people to help them.
Yeah, as you said, Sandy, thank you so much for that introduction. My message is one of hope, inspiration, abundance, and peace of mind. And I always get so excited anytime you and I are talking. I forgot earlier, I just want to greet you and the audience with namaste.
Yes.
The spirit in me greets the spirit in you and the spirit in all of your listeners. So I'm very grateful that you've had me on your show today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I did was through the business it is a pay it forward. I call it give a fish, teach to fish.
Yes.
And we go into non-for-profit organizations. And of course, the give a fish is a financial contribution. We make a donation. But really where the magic happens is in the teach to fish. So teaching the fish, obviously, you give a fish, you've given a meal. If you teach the fish, you fed for a lifetime. Yeah. And once I'm able to go in and teach individuals how they can start to manifest their dream life, that they can manifest anything they can imagine, to focus on what they want, not to keep focusing on what they don't want. And let's start off small. Let's manifest a pair of shoes, and then let's go to a car, and let's go to a house. Let's go to whatever we have. But as you said earlier, one of the most common questions I get, Sandy, is, PJ, can you please teach me how to manifest? And I'll say, well, you've manifested everything in your life to this point, just so you understand, because you've had thoughts, you've put out emotions, whatever you thought about the most is what you've gotten back. You have been in control of this. So you have what I call inside of you, Sandy, is a beautiful magic lamp. So you've got Sandra or Sandy B on the show, Sandy B's magic lamp inside of you, as well as every listener does. Yeah. And this magic lamp is infinitely better than Aladdin's magic lamp, not just 3 wishes. It gives Sandy B and every listener grants you unlimited wishes. But, and it's a big but, B-U-T, but both good or bad. Yeah. So if you have 4 negative thoughts and 1 positive thought, you're developing that thought form on your mind that's going out. Everything behind me, I see in your screen, everything that we have in front of us, Sandy, has been created. It's been created twice. Everything is created first in someone's imagination, in their mind. They create a thought and it creates a thought form. That is where every single thing on earth was created. Then the physical object back of it is created. So everything's created twice. First in a thought, through our imagination, a thought in a thought form, then the physical object back of it. So
Yeah,
once people can start to, I say, can you get 1% better? Do you think, is it possible to think, Sandy, that you could get 1% better today?
definitely. It is
Definitely. So
possible.
if your positives here and your negatives here, what if you just start to raise your positive by 1%, another percent, or maybe you raise it by a percent, then you can lower your negativity. So if the average individual, Sandy, it has 80% negative thoughts,
Mm.
do you think, if it's representative of our listeners today, can they lower those negative thoughts for tomorrow to 79% instead of 80%? Only 79 negative thoughts out of 100 instead of 80. I
Yes, it
believe
is
it.
doable.
You,
Yes.
yeah. So it's, I tell any listener, because this is new information for a lot of people sometimes, and I tell them, if this is new information, at the end of this, can you just believe in what I've shared with you today from Universal Intelligence? Can you believe just 1%, even just 1% of what I've shared with you today? Because that's all we need, Sandy, is just a sliver of daylight. If you can believe even 1%, I believe in you, Sandy, and I believe in every one of your listeners 100%. We can manifest. You can co-create with universal intelligence, working together. Once you learn to speak this language, just a little crack of daylight is all we need to start to build momentum.
I love it. So talk to me about that person who was fearful. You've shared, I've got the pleasure of, being able to see you at Podfest talk on the stage, and I'll share some of the footage that I have with this episode. But talk to me about fear, because in my coaching, I I speak to so many people who are so fearful, and I like what you say about fear.
Yeah, and it's really just, it's almost like, whenever we're smaller, I know I did, at least, whenever it's raining outside or something, you had a deck of cards and you played a war with, your, maybe one of your siblings. You get
Yeah.
26 cards and they get 26, and it's going back and forth. So it's really starting to stack the deck in your side. Just get one extra card per day, just that 1% better. And once you start to have a little bit of confidence, your this is inside of you, standing inside of everyone. So this isn't something that you have to invent or create. This is just getting in touch with this. So one of the easy ones that I say for folks is, can you just start to wake up your day? So you start your day tomorrow, and
Hmm.
just start your day when you wake up. I am so happy and grateful now that today is a magnificent day.
Yes.
I am so happy and grateful now. Today is a magnificent day. Sandy, how many people I talk to when I first start talking off, they could be in that fear zone that you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
And I'll ask them, they'll say, I wake up and I'm just thinking how rotten of a day it's going to be, how bad it's going to be. I just have the world's worst luck. So even if we just start to make that change, you're starting your pathway to a lot less fear, a lot more confidence. So the universe wants you to have anticipation, because you've got this wonderful buffet in front of you, the greatest
Mhm.
buffet you could ever imagine. And it wants you to be in anticipation and have a high emotion and look forward to your day and go into your day. And if you could just go into, you have a lot of women listeners who are better or closer in contact with their subconscious mind, with
Yeah.
their intuition than the male counterparts on average.
Hmm.
And just think about feeling your way into the day. And how do you want to feel? Usually we'll have, I call it team it, three most important tasks per day. It's not 100, it's
Hmm.
3, 4, 5. So these things that maybe you're worried about, I got to have a conversation with my boss or a peer or coworker. There's something with one of my children, my mom or dad, or I've got to go grocery shopping. I'm sorry, whatever these things are, your most important tasks.
Yeah.
Just start to think now. Just go through your day from feeling. So think, how do I want to feel after this first meeting at work in the morning?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Sandy, it won't take long, that if you can internalize that feeling before the meeting, it could be that morning, the day before, a couple of days, a week before, depending on how important it is. You internalize that feeling and you put that feeling in your subconscious mind and your heart of hearts. You'll be surprised the first time, and then it'll be less and less surprised that at the end of that meeting, I didn't know what was going to happen, how I was going to get there. But wow, was that a success? I crushed it. I had the best time possible. I can't imagine a greater outcome. And you want to talk about eliminating fear and starting to get positive emotion going and building up your
Yeah. Mhm.
self-confidence. You can go through your day, even if you say, hey, it may take me a while to visualize and all these other things. Just use your emotions and get into the emotion which you desire. You deserve it. Every listener on here deserves to live their best life, Sandy. Everyone. The intention, there is to be no poverty, no hunger, strife, despair, illness. There is to be none. That's why universal intelligence sends people out to spread this word, to let individuals know, because the word's sort of gotten lost over time. And individuals need to know how important they are, how many resources they have, that they have a perfect spirit, a perfect spiritual DNA, and a perfect spiritual spark. And the universe emphasized that spiritual spark, Sandy. So it's just like putting your fingers together, getting ready to snap your fingers. This is all you need to do right there. Just snap that and get your spiritual spark. And what you want and what you focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. And that spark is going to create a brush fire, like a brush fire in your backyard or in your back hillside of your backyard. Then that brush fire is going to create a wildfire. This is a wildfire of momentum, of love, of compassion, of abundance, whatever you want it to be. You're just right here, Sandy, just that far away, just snapping your fingers. That's all your listeners have to do is access that pure spiritual spark inside of them.
Powerful stuff. And I have been practicing. With just the simple things. I was on your session, I believe it was this Wednesday, and so many things spoke to my spirit. And I thought, and I use that word, I'm going to have a magnificent day.
Yes.
Magnificent, not just awesome,
Yeah.
magnificent.
Yes.
And I can tell you, it's been just instant, like you said, thinking about this meeting that I'm going to. And I like how you frame it so we can think about the feeling of it. You know, like you said, the visualization sometimes is hard, but when you think about the positive outcome you want to achieve from that difficult meeting that you may have to have, you know, whether it's going to your child's school or, you know, at work or even with your spouse, you have that thought of what you want that outcome to be prior to doing that action. It really does allow for you to see what your desired outcome would be.
Yeah, and the universe calls that. I have that in my book. It's called Living in the Universal Truth. So when you understand that this buffet is in front of you, everything you could ever want is accessible to you, that you have all the tools inside of you, that when you can get in a mindset, Sandy, in advance before something happens, and you are grateful, and gratitude is a key word with the universe. Another quick hack that I'll give your listeners is be grateful and do it in a humble tone. Whatever you're grateful for, whatever you send out, will be sent back to you. It's almost like a free lunch. Whatever, if you're humble and genuine with emotion and grateful, it will be sent back to you. So that's a guarantee. One other little hack I want to mention is, and you don't have to be an expert at manifesting, but just before your listeners go to sleep at night. So people will ask me, Sandy, say, PJ, you know, if there's one thing I sort of understand from listening to you is just how powerful our subconscious mind is, but how can I access it? How do I get to it? Where is it at? And the easiest answer I can give you is the 2 times in the course of the day that we human beings are closest to our subconscious mind is right before we go to sleep and right we wake up in the morning. So right before we go to sleep, all of our senses are shut off right at that moment. Our sight, our smell, our taste, our hearing, our touch. And when we're at that stillness and we're falling asleep and we're all shut down, we are right next to our subconscious mind. So what I want your listeners to do is never miss out on a free lunch. Every night, right before you go to sleep, ask your subconscious mind, say, universal subconscious mind, I'm speaking to my subconscious mind. Please give me the answer to, let me know how I should, in this situation, which is most important to me, my action should be. Ask it your specific question, however you want to, and then pay attention, because the majority of the time, you're going to get an answer within very quickly, 24, 48, 72 hours. And also be sensitive. The universe works an awful lot in symbols. You need to get in touch. When we say about intuition is so important, Sandy, and that is when we're awake and we're close to and that's what we talked earlier about women's intuition. So your intuition is in a handshake with your subconscious mind, and it's right there, and it's just dying to give it an answer. It's almost like screaming all day long, pick me. It's got its hand up, listen to me, and it will give it to you typically. And it's like a mental telepathy. It's not in spoken words, but it'll give it to you. To me, I get like 1 or 2 seconds, maybe a couple of seconds. It gives it to me. It gives me the thought form. You need to pay attention. But one of the happiest days, Sandy, in your life and any listener's life is the day when you get really good and you are able to differentiate the thoughts that seem like they've been coming into my head, which I consider, let's say your listeners thought that was all sort of coming from one source their entire life. Not coming from one source, from two sources. They're coming in from your conscious mind,
Yeah.
or they're coming in from your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is part of universal subconscious mind. All knowledge of all time, every answer that it ever gives you on earth is perfect. It's the greatest answer for you. So you're like, I want to get in access with that. How do I? So start to pay attention where these are coming from. If it's very quick and it's a great answer and you weren't thinking about it in your conscious mind, that came from your subconscious mind. So you want the greatest answers that are all pro Sandy or pro whatever your listeners' names are, that are all about them 100%. You want to be able to access that. And even if you start to pick up on 2 or 3 or 4 of those a day that you were missing before, even write that. You said earlier, Sandy, about lowering your fear. That's going to lower your fear. It's going to raise your confidence level. And once you start to build this momentum, what the universe calls it, Sandy, is once you start to even make a 1% increase, they refer to it as a higher level of consciousness. So as your consciousness increases, even by 1%, your awareness is going to increase. And as your awareness increases, it's going to increase your consciousness. It sort of starts to feed off of itself in a positive manner as it starts to grow. So your listeners can increase their consciousness and their awareness within the next 24 hours and start to get some very, very positive feedback.
Wow. I think we just got a master class from you.
we definitely did a little walk around the block there. Yeah.
It was worth every minute because I feel as if there is someone that is going to be able to make the changes they desire by following these simple steps and going to learn more about what you do at PJ Mindset Coaching, and they will be able to use these tools to help them. And I love the fact that you really allow for people who are interested in going to that next level all the tools. You provide so much good information, and it's free, PJ.
Everything's free. We're looking to bend over backwards to come out for non-for-profit organizations, have me come in and speak.
Yes.
And that's the teach to fish. So yeah, we do the give the fish, but that's the teach to fish, and it can help to change the trajectory of someone's life beyond your wildest expectations. So anyone, if you're looking for someone to come in and talk to your group, either in person or virtually, everything's free. There's never any charge. Everything I do is I give away.
Yeah.
There's no cost for anything. It's a message of hope and inspiration, abundance and peace of mind, focusing on underserved people, communities of color, single parent households, and women and children in need. That's our focus for our Paying It Forward program.
Well, I love it. And I can tell you, I'm making sure everyone I know can connect with you, whether they have the nonprofit, they have that daycare center, they have that small business. We need this. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone in need. Yes, anyone in need. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. So I will let you go with that, but just know I reserve the right to have you come back and share with us, because this is such good information and we want to continue to be able to learn and grow from you. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful, and I love anytime we get a chance to talk. Our exchanges are always wonderful. Thank you so much.